The priest had just asked me to turn toward my bride when the wedding hall doors exploded open. Everyone turned. My mother stopped smiling. My best friend, Daniel, lowered his glass. And my bride, Emily, whispered, "Ethan, who is that?" I knew exactly who she was. The woman standing at the entrance was wearing a black dress, rainwater shining on her shoulders, her face pale and breathless. Olivia Carter, the woman who had once told me I wasn't good enough to build a future with her. The woman who had walked out of my apartment 3 years earlier. The woman who had disappeared without looking back. And now she was standing at my wedding, uninvited. "Olivia," I whispered. She looked directly at me. "I need 5 minutes." Emily stepped closer to me. "You know her?" Before I could answer, Olivia said, "I know him better than anyone in this room." A murmur spread through the guests. I felt my chest tighten, not because I still loved her. At least, that's what I had spent 3 years convincing myself. I walked toward her. "What are you doing here?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I came because you deserve to know the truth before you marry her." Emily looked at me. "What truth?" Olivia swallowed. "Ethan didn't lose everything 3 years ago." I froze. She continued. "He gave it away." Daniel's expression changed. "Olivia, you need to leave." She ignored him. "Tell them, Ethan." I stared at her. There were hundreds of things I could have said, but instead, I asked the only question that mattered. "Why now?" Her voice cracked. "Because I finally discovered what you did for me." The room went silent. 3 years earlier, I had been 29, broke, exhausted, and desperately in love with Olivia. We had built our lives around one dream, creating a technology company that could change how small businesses handle payments. I wrote the software. She handled investors. For 2 years, we lived in a tiny apartment and survived on cheap coffee and hope. Then everything changed. One night, Olivia came home with an expensive handbag. She placed it on the table. "We need to talk." I already knew. "You're leaving?" She looked away. "I met someone." My stomach dropped. "Who?" "Marcus." Marcus Hale was the son of a billionaire investor. I laughed bitterly. "So you traded me for money?" "No," she said. "I traded uncertainty for a future." That sentence stayed with me. "You think I'm a failure?" "I think you're stuck." She took off her engagement ring and placed it beside the handbag. "I don't want to spend my life waiting for you to become someone." I stared at the ring. "What if I do become someone?" She shook her head. "I can't gamble my future on what you might become." Then she walked out. I didn't chase her. That was the first decision I ever made that changed my life. 6 months later, I sold my remaining shares in our startup. Everyone thought I had failed. Olivia believed it too. But what nobody knew was that I had secretly retained the original intellectual property rights. I spent the next 3 years rebuilding. Quietly. No interviews. No social media. No revenge speeches. Just work. Eventually, my company, Sterling Systems, became one of the fastest growing financial technology companies in America. And Emily knew me only as Ethan Brooks, the man who had built a successful company from scratch. She had never asked about Olivia. She never judged my past. She simply loved me. That was why Olivia's appearance hurt. Not because I wanted Olivia back. Because she had chosen the exact moment I had finally found peace to reopen the past. Olivia stepped closer. "Ethan, please." Emily looked at me. "Is she telling the truth?" I nodded. "There are things you don't know." Emily's eyes hardened. "Then tell me." Before I could speak, Olivia pulled a small envelope from her purse. "I found this in my father's files." She handed it to me. My hands went cold when I saw the handwriting. It belonged to my father, a man who had died 7 years earlier. I opened the envelope. Inside was one sentence. "If Olivia ever comes back, don't trust the reason she gives you." I looked up. Olivia was crying. And suddenly, I wasn't wondering why she had come to my wedding. I was wondering who had sent her. Emily refused to continue the ceremony. Not angrily. That somehow made it worse. She simply looked at me and said, "I can't marry a man while another woman is standing here holding pieces of his past." Olivia stepped forward. Emily, I'm not here to take him away. Emily looked at her. Then why are you here? Olivia hesitated. Because Marcus is trying to destroy Ethan. My heart stopped. Marcus. She nodded. He's been investigating Sterling Systems for months. I stared at her. Why? Because he knows Ethan's original company wasn't a failure. Daniel stepped beside me. That's impossible. Olivia looked at him. It's not. She turned to me. Marcus discovered that Ethan retained the original technology rights. He wants those patents. I laughed. So, after 3 years, he finally wants what he couldn't take from me before? No, Olivia whispered. He wants more than that. She pulled another document from her purse. Your father's old investment records. I took them. The signature at the bottom made my stomach tighten. My father had invested in Marcus Hale's father's company 20 years earlier. Then I saw something else. A transfer, a massive amount of money, paid into an account bearing Olivia's name. I looked at her. What is this? She closed her eyes. I didn't know. You expect me to believe that? I was 19. You were 27 when you left me. Her voice broke. I know. Emily stepped between us. Start from the beginning. Olivia nodded. When Ethan and I were building our company, Marcus approached me. I stared at her. What did he offer? Investment. You never told me. Because I was scared. Of what? That he would destroy us. I stepped closer. But you still left. I thought leaving would protect you. I shook my head. That doesn't make sense. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. I made the worst decision of my life. Emily asked quietly, Did you love him? Olivia looked at me. Yes. The word landed heavily. But I was afraid that love wasn't enough. I looked away. For 3 years, I had imagined Olivia leaving because she wanted money. Now I was beginning to understand that fear had been involved. But fear didn't erase betrayal. What happened after you left? I asked. She answered, Marcus became obsessed with controlling the company. So you married him? No. Why not? Because I discovered what he really wanted. She reached into her bag again. This time she pulled out a photograph. It showed Marcus standing beside my father's former business partner. Behind them was a boardroom. On the table was a file labeled Sterling, Acquisition Plan. Daniel stared at it. This goes back years. Olivia nodded. Your father suspected Marcus's family was trying to steal his technology. I looked at the photograph again. My father knew. Yes. Then why didn't he tell me? Because he was afraid you'd become obsessed with revenge. I laughed quietly. He was right. Emily touched my arm. Ethan. I looked at her. She wasn't asking me to forget the past. She was asking me not to let it control my future. I believe you, she said. Olivia looked down. I don't expect forgiveness. You shouldn't, I replied. Her face fell. But I do want the truth, I continued. She nodded. I can give you that. Suddenly Daniel's phone rang. He answered. His expression changed. Ethan? What? Someone just accessed Sterling's private server. I froze. Who? Daniel looked at the screen. Marcus Hale. Olivia whispered. He's already inside. And then my phone buzzed. One message. From an unknown number. Congratulations on the wedding, Ethan. Let's see how long your new life lasts. By morning, Sterling Systems had lost nearly 40% of its market value. Investors panicked. News channels called it a corporate collapse. Employees were terrified. And someone had leaked documents claiming my company had stolen technology from Marcus Hale's father. The accusations were false, but the evidence looked real. Emily sat across from me in my office. Can you stop this? I don't know. That was the first time I'd ever said those words to her. She looked surprised. You always know what to do. I thought I did. Daniel rushed into the room. Ethan, we found the source of the leak. Marcus. Daniel shook his head. Olivia. Silence. I stood. No. She had access to the old development files. Because she helped build them. I know. Then somebody is framing her. Daniel placed a tablet on the table. Watch. The video showed Olivia entering Sterling headquarters 2 nights earlier. Then it showed her leaving with a hard drive. Emily looked at me. Ethan, I stared at the footage. Olivia had betrayed me once. Could she have done it again? I called her. She answered immediately. Ethan, did you take the hard drive? Silence. Yes. My chest tightened. Why? I was trying to protect you. By stealing from my company? I needed proof. Proof of what? That Marcus had infiltrated the system. Why didn't you tell me? Because someone inside Sterling is working for him. I looked at Daniel. Who? I don't know yet. Then Olivia whispered, It's someone close to you. The call ended. That night, the board voted to suspend me as CEO until the investigation was complete. I walked out of the building carrying one box. 3 years of work. Reduced to cardboard. Outside, reporters shouted questions. Did you steal the technology? Is Sterling collapsing? Are you responsible for the fraud? I kept walking. Emily waited in the parking lot. She opened the passenger door. Get in. He sat beside her for several minutes. Neither of us spoke. Finally, she asked, Do you regret marrying me? I looked at her. We didn't get married. That's not what I meant. I smiled sadly. No. She took my hand. Then we're still fighting. I squeezed her fingers. That was the moment I understood something. Success had made me think I had finally escaped my past. But my past wasn't finished with me. The next morning, Marcus held a press conference. He stood behind a wall of cameras. Ethan Brooks built his company on stolen technology, he said. Today, I am filing a lawsuit that will expose the truth. Then he looked directly into the cameras. And Olivia Carter will testify against him. My blood went cold. Daniel stared at me. She wouldn't. But 10 minutes later, Olivia's attorney released a statement. She was cooperating with the investigation. I felt something inside me break. Not love. Trust. I drove to Olivia's apartment. She opened the door. Ethan, you're testifying against me? She looked exhausted. Yes. Why? Because if I don't, they'll destroy you. I stared at her. Then tell me what you know. She stepped aside. On the wall behind her were dozens of photographs. Marcus, his father, my father's former partners, and one picture that made my entire body go still. It showed my father shaking hands with Marcus's father. On the back was a date, 2 days before my father's death. Olivia whispered, Your father didn't die because of an accident. I looked at her. What are you saying? She swallowed. He was investigating a corporate conspiracy. And Marcus, his family was involved. I stepped backward. For years, I had blamed myself for not being there. Now I wonder whether my father's death had been part of something much bigger. Olivia opened a locked drawer. Inside was a flash drive. I found this yesterday. What is it? Your father's final recording. I reached for it. Then she stopped me. But then there's something else. What? Her eyes filled with tears. Your father recorded a message for you. We watched the recording in silence. My father's face appeared on the screen. Older, tired, but calm. If you're watching this, Ethan, something went wrong. My throat tightened. He continued, I need you to understand one thing. Never build your life around proving someone wrong. I looked at Olivia. She was crying silently. My father's voice continued. The Hale family wants control of my company. They believe they can manipulate you through the people you love. The recording paused. Then he said the words that changed everything. Olivia's father helped me hide the original patent documents. I stared at the screen. Olivia covered her mouth. My father continued. His family owes the Hales nothing. If Olivia ever tells you she betrayed you, listen carefully before you judge her. I looked at Olivia. What does that mean? She whispered. I didn't know he recorded this. The video ended. Daniel stared at the screen. So, Olivia wasn't working with Marcus. No, I said. She was trying to expose him. Olivia looked at me. I thought leaving you would make you safe. I sat down. You should have trusted me. I know. You destroyed us. I know. And I spent 3 years believing I wasn't enough. She lowered her eyes. You were never the problem. Those words should have healed something. Instead, they hurt. Because I had spent years becoming someone else just to prove her wrong. I realized my biggest mistake wasn't losing Olivia. It was letting her rejection become the reason I succeeded. My father's message had warned me, don't build your life around proving someone wrong. I looked at Daniel. What do we have? He smiled. Enough to fight. The flash drive contained transaction records, patent documents, encrypted communications, and one final file. A list of names. One name belonged to a Sterling board member, Richard Cole, my mentor, the man who had encouraged me when nobody else believed in the company. I called him. Richard, we need to talk. His voice sounded nervous. Of course. Were you working with Marcus? Silence. Then, I can explain. That was all I needed. We went to his house. He opened the door before we knocked. I never wanted this. I stared at him. You sold us out. I was threatened. By Marcus. He had evidence against my family. I shook my head. You could have told me. I was afraid. Everyone was afraid. That seemed to be the theme of my entire past. Fear had destroyed my relationship. Fear had destroyed my company. Fear had controlled Richard. And fear had nearly controlled me. Richard handed me a folder. Marcus is planning to force Sterling into bankruptcy. How? He has enough shares to trigger a hostile takeover. Daniel looked at me. How long? 48 hours. Olivia stepped forward. What about the patent? Richard shook his head. Marcus doesn't need the patent anymore. I frowned. Then what does he want? Richard looked directly at me. You. I froze. He wants you to publicly admit fraud. Why? Because once you confess, every company connected to Sterling collapses. Daniel understood. He wants to erase Ethan's credibility. Richard nodded. And then buy everything for almost nothing. I looked at Olivia. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was thinking about what my father had taught me. Build something worth protecting, not someone worth defeating. I stood. Then we don't fight Marcus emotionally. Daniel smiled. How do we fight him? By letting him think he's already won. Olivia looked at me. What are you planning? I answered quietly. The wedding. Her eyes widened. The wedding? Yes. The ceremony was canceled. I smiled. No, it was postponed. 48 hours later, the wedding hall was full again, but this time, reporters were outside. Investors were watching. Marcus was watching. And I was standing beside Emily. She looked at me. Are you sure? Yes. You're not doing this for Olivia? I shook my head. No. Then why? Because I finally understand what I want. She smiled. Good. The music began. But before the ceremony started, the giant screens behind us turned on. Marcus appeared. He had forced his way into the broadcast system. Ethan, he said, this ends tonight. The guests turned toward the screens. Marcus continued. You have 40 seconds to admit you stole my family's technology. I laughed, not because it was funny, because for the first time, I wasn't afraid. Marcus, I said, looking into the camera, you should have done better research. His expression changed. The screen behind him suddenly displayed financial records, bank transfers, encrypted messages, boardroom recordings, everything. Daniel stepped onto the stage. The system breach Marcus used to attack Sterling was recorded. Another screen showed Richard's testimony. Then Olivia appeared. She looked directly at the camera. I was never Ethan's accomplice. Marcus shouted from the screen, You traitor! Olivia answered calmly, No, I was afraid. She paused. But I'm not afraid anymore. The final file appeared. My father's recording. Then the room went silent. Marcus's own father was heard discussing the plan to acquire Sterling. The evidence was undeniable. Marcus's face went pale. You can't prove this is real. Daniel smiled. We already sent copies to federal investigators. Marcus said nothing. The screen went black. A few seconds later, phones throughout the room began ringing. News alerts appeared. Hale Empire under investigation. Marcus's company collapsed within hours. But I didn't celebrate. I looked at Olivia. She was standing near the entrance. She approached slowly. I guess this is goodbye. I nodded. Yes. She looked at Emily. Take care of him. Emily smiled. He'll take care of himself. Olivia looked at me one final time. I loved you. I believed her. And that was the hardest part. I loved you too, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. But we weren't good for each other. She nodded. I know. She turned toward the door. Olivia. She stopped. I walked toward her. Thank you. She looked confused. For what? For finally telling me the truth. She smiled through her tears. I'm sorry it took me so long. Then she left. Emily came beside me. Are you okay? I looked at the wedding ring in my hand. For years, I believed winning meant making Olivia regret leaving me. But standing there, I realized something. Winning wasn't watching her lose. Winning was no longer needing her regret. I turned toward Emily. Ready? She smiled. Always. The priest stepped forward. This time, there were no interruptions. No enemies. No secrets. Just two people choosing each other. Months later, Sterling recovered. I returned as CEO, but I changed the company culture completely. No more secret deals. No more fear-based leadership. And I never forgot my father's warning. Don't build your life around proving someone wrong. Because a woman who broke my heart had unknowingly taught me the greatest lesson of my life. Sometimes the person who leaves you isn't destroying your future. Sometimes they're forcing you to discover that your future was never supposed to depend on them. And sometimes revenge isn't making someone regret losing you. It's reaching a place where their regret no longer matters. That night, as Emily and I danced beneath the lights, I looked toward the empty doorway. Olivia had come to my wedding uninvited. She had brought my past with her. But when she left, she took the last piece of it with her. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't looking backward. I was finally home,